All right, this is Michael here for Chattanooga State's The Wall, WAWL.org, Tokyo Tower, and I have the pleasure to speak with an esteemed guest here. You know him from Team 4-Star, but let me have him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Scott Kaiserneko Frericks, one of the project headrunners and co-founders of Team 4-Star.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to speak to you today. And my first question right off, and I'm going to do something that's not great for radio, but I'm bringing the program over to show. So we have all these amazing guests, yourself included. Is that still a bit unreal?
It is always a little bit unreal when you're basically saying, hey, so we're in the guest book right after George Takei. Because at Kineticon this year, there was literally George Takei, Billy Yost, the original Blue Ranger, Austin St. John, the original Red Ranger. I'm looking down these lists and I'm seeing a bunch of names. I know, like one year there, we were like right next to, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name, Richard Horvitz and Billy West. It's crazy. It's always crazy to think that we're getting not I wouldn't say the same billing, but we're on the same list, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And some of those people, of course, you mentioned are, voice actors themselves. And obviously that's a lot of what you do. So that's gotta be inspiring too, just to kind of be that near them.
I really, ultimately, when it comes down to it, I don't feel like I'm anywhere close to their league. So the moment they come by, I want to thank them. Because if it weren't for them, I got to thank Maurice LaMarche. If it weren't for Maurice LaMarche, with the brain and so many other wonderful characters throughout the years, I would never have gotten a lot of the inspiration that I've gotten. So yeah, it's really crazy to meet them, and it's an honor.
Well, and while I can understand your reaction being fairly humble, clearly you have a lot of fans. A lot of my friends were really excited when I got to tell them I was going to interview you. And, the panel response, stuff seems like it's been going really well. So how has the convention been for you thus far?
It's been fantastic. We were a little bit worried because our actual advertisements for the con were actually a little bit low this year because things got away from us. So we were like, oh man, I wonder if anybody knows that we're going to AWA. Well, we got the main panel room, like the main events room, and it was all the seats were nearly full. We thought we were going to fill half of the seats in there. So it was crazy. We couldn't believe it. And ultimately, the people have been super friendly. The staff has been very helpful. We haven't had any problems except for minor hiccups here and there, which I can only count down to, well, something's going to go wrong. So no, it's been a fantastic con so far.
Yeah, definitely speaking to that main events room. I just came from there for the fashion show, and that is, for anybody not actually attending Anime Week in Atlanta, that's hearing this, that is no small room. I'm not good with square footage estimates, but it's pretty huge. I mean, that's where the opening ceremonies, that's where the main concerts are. So that's, incredible.
Yeah, it's easily, if not the biggest, then easily the second biggest room we've ever had.
Yeah, it's very cool. Well, I want to kind of talk about your work, of course. And specifically, I've just been curious, can you run through kind of the creation of maybe an episode, what it takes to release, and for any of your series, but what it takes to release one?
All right. Well, let's talk about how an episode of Dragon Ball Z Abridged is created. Basically, there are three writers: myself, Nick Lanipator-Landis, and Curtis Takahata 101 Arnott. We sit down and we review the episodes that we're going to cover. Then we open up a Word document, we title everything, we format everything, and then we slowly review the footage again over and over as we write throughout the episode. The process usually takes about 3 days maybe of straight scripting. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer if the episode is particularly difficult or if it's a particularly longer episode. Mm-hmm. After the script is finished, we'll send it off to all of our actors who I direct. I am the vocal director for the entire series. So if anyone's performance is lackluster, you can blame me. Don't blame any of our fantastic actors. I can assure you that everyone who works for us is talented and wonderful. If there's a shortcoming, it's my fault. And after I'm finished directing them, they send in their lines, and usually I can get started on an episode as long as I have the bulk of it, and I can usually, do some fill-in lines by myself just to, stand in for any ones I haven't gotten. Every once in a while, we'll need a redo, and I'll schedule something with somebody for a pickup. And after that, the actual editing process takes somewhere between 60 and 80 hours. and this is for a normal length episode. Let's say about 10 minutes. For a movie, it can be understandably longer because usually the movies are about 20 minutes long. And I usually send a couple of passes to the other members, and then I have a final draft, which is previewed by everyone on the team, all the writers anyway. And that's when it goes up on the site and up on the YouTube a couple of days later.
Yeah, I think so. What's impressive to me is, you have such a professionalism about how you do this. Just even the way you're talking about, like how structured it is, and you're kind of, because I think they all do fantastic work. So you even shouldering anything, I don't think you have anything to worry about there. So, but it's pretty impressive what you guys do.
Well, we have been doing it for about 7 years and some odd months. So at this point, it is down to a science. Although, like with science, things can be unpredictable, and you cannot always count on everything working out as you wish. Sometimes people will be busy. Sometimes, people will just be in a bad place and it'll be a little bit hard to get work done. You gotta have to, we're all human, and that's why, we try and make a good working environment. We try to make sure that everybody is taken care of. With the Patreon money that we're now getting, we're trying to make sure that all of the people who are working under us are paid and taken care of. And it really matters to us, not just because we need to get this work done, but we love all the people that we work with. We want to make sure that they're happy and that if they're working with us, they don't have to worry about anything.
Well, so one of my friends specifically suggested this as a question, and since you're really kind of the director behind the vocal talents, I feel it's very appropriate. But she was specifically thinking of the one episode where you were kind of battling back with Vegeta voices, and who is that? Or, who would be that? Is that actually something that, how do you even kind of cast the people? And maybe it's less now than it was before, though Lord knows a show like Dragon Ball always has new characters. But just kind of what's your process there?
Sometimes it's a little clean cut, sometimes it's difficult. When it came down to casting Android 17, we had one of the biggest casting calls, closed casting calls that we've ever had. We do all closed casting, mostly because open casting, you'd get too many people. It would just be a gigantic chore. We have plenty of actors and actresses that we've met over the years who are just, who are fantastic, very talented, and have lots of range. And so with Android 17, God knows, we went through so many different actors trying to get the right person. And when we finally made that decision, it was difficult because, gosh, we had to tell at least 7 other different people, sorry, you didn't get this. Same thing happened with Future Gohan, although even bigger. That was easily the biggest. And that one, it came down to the last guy who actually auditioned. We were like, that's the one we're looking for. Youthful, but this hard edge. And not to mention, a lot of people think that we cast before we write. We never cast before we write. We make sure that whatever character we have, we write him out, we know how he's going to sound, how he's going to act, and then we get the appropriate actor or actress.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very cool. Yeah, and again, you said you're 7 years into this. That, even seems very much like something you're a little more used to, though definitely having to say no or whatever, going through that process isn't always easy.
Nah, it gets easier when you learn how to break it to people, and basically you just have, it hurts, especially as somebody from the creative process, but I have to tell them, I'm sorry, this is how this works. You're going to get a no. I do auditions for Funimation. I've been told no. I've been told no for Okratron and all these different shows. Mm-hmm. So it's all a matter of just, you got to keep trying and you got to keep working towards it.
So that's a great segue, because I was kind of curious, when you guys started, just kind of doing this, many years ago, was it primarily for fun, or was it, and maybe we can also take this somewhere else?
I'd be a liar if I said the idea of getting big never crossed our minds. However, I can definitely say we never imagined to hit it off like this. We expected to get 100,000 subscribers and then for it to slowly peter down. Mm-hmm. Next thing we knew, we had 1 million subscribers. It happened quicker than any of us. It happened over the course of 5 years. Now, for some people, they get subscribers way quicker than that. But, this was still a hell of a surprise. Like, none of us thought that we'd be invited to conventions, that we'd actually be able to make money on the side enough to make this our full-time job. We never expected to hit off like we did. And we started it primarily for fun. And it still is. I mean, don't get me wrong. The money aspect of it does matter, but only to the extent where we want to be able to do the things that we love for a living. I mean, it's not that we want to buy expensive cars. We don't want to buy an expensive house. I don't need a boat. I don't need a whole lot of things. The thing that I want to do is the thing that I love to do. And that is working with talented people on things that we all enjoy. And I think I speak for the entire team when all we care about is making sure that the people that we work with can be offered the same opportunity.
Well, and it is interesting, kind of even the way you responded to that, kind of reminds me, there are a lot of creative people that will kind of, I guess, like rise up because of what they're doing and maybe get flack because, they want to see passion kind of paired with, again, actually living, life. So, they're not just like I don't know.
I'm going to say this, and this is going to be a little bit controversial. The starving artist ideal is bull. Never let anyone tell you, oh, it was so much better before they started making money. Look, if you're good at something, if you're really good at something and people want it from you, you deserve to be paid for what you offer up. I'm not saying everyone deserves money for everything they do, but if you're in demand, it is not unconscionable to expect to be paid for your efforts, for your work. And honestly, we all deserve a paycheck to live and continue and thrive. So there's nothing wrong with offering your talents for money, just as long as you still give what's coming from your heart, what's coming from your soul, as long as what you give is in fact your art.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, I apologize as I think I've already run us up to the edge of our time. But thank you so much again for speaking with me today. Have a great rest of the convention. And thank you for all that you do with Team 4-Star and beyond.
Thank you very much for this interview. It was very well put together. And sorry, I'm blowing at the end, but thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.